So
all over the place.
I guess so. So on thanks for tuning in, everyone. On today's show, we are blessed with the presence of vegan Danielle, aka Miss Danielle Pets. She's been a hard worker since her ironically first fitting job as a McDonald's line cook at age 14 and has quite an interesting 15-year track record in the entertainment business ever since. With accolades and experiences ranging from snowboarding sponsorships, Spartan Warrior racing, and at one time 500,000 followers on social media, Danielle is still no stranger to the various shades of rock bottom. She's a cancer survivor who has also walked away from different forms of addiction and is now using her insight to help encourage better paths for others around. She's spent years as a vegan creating recipes and other lifestyle resources for those looking to spice up their pantry and or their fridge, and has most recently started producing this podcast on the Specialty Produce Network, of which her personal podcast became a finalist in San Diego's Best Vegan-Themed Podcast Series last year. Please help me welcome Vegan Danielle.
Okay, Caleb, that was a amazing intro. It made me sound a little better than I feel like I am, but thank you for having me.
Well, it's the Sparks Notes versions, but in all honesty, all of that's true. I was going to say.
Weird how that worked.
It's so weird, but I was thinking it, and man, as we were mentioning before the show, I read through your blog. First off, doing a daily blog is just between all of the things that you do here for Specialty, doing your blog, are you still making recipes?
I have fallen off a little bit on that.
But it's so cool because you made a good database, I think. How many recipes do you need?
Right. I mean, I could start reposting. I mean, what am I going to do with them? Make a cookbook? I don't know. Possibly. Not necessarily a goal right now, but it's just kind of for fun.
Yeah. I think that was a good thing for you to get on your palate because, I think that was part of your sculpting process to get you into this position.
I think so, too. And who knows where I'll be.
I'm glad you liked the intro. There were other ways I was phrasing it. One was an explicit blogger with a sweet podcast. Was one of them.
That's kind of cute.
One of the opening lines was going to be, "She's overcome more adversity and challenge than most Olympic teams will face in a lifetime."
There have been some very highs and very low, high highs and low lows.
High highs.
I
want to say thank you for being so transparent about it. First off, for those of you that have yet to read her blog, yet to ever hear her talk, she has one of the things that I love about Danielle is she's been completely transparent with some of the gnarliest stories to ever happen to people. And I think that a lot of people hide them. I think a lot of people downplay them. I think a lot of people don't share them. And what that does is it, first off, doesn't make anyone else better. But not being honest with yourself and not sharing the things that are so big that, of course, they do mean things. Mm-hmm. To keep things secret is that's weird. So not only does it help other people, and that's what your aim is, but I really think that it's helped you.
No, for sure. And I got to say something first because I have been quiet for 10 years. A lot of this stuff has happened a long time ago. And I did stay quiet for fear of what family might think, for fear of potential employers reading something, for fear of people not liking me, whatever the situation was. And I think I finally got to a point where I'm like, man, this stuff gets really heavy to hold. And so there definitely are some situations that I will never talk about publicly. I don't care what the situation is because legal reasons or because I'm not trying to trash someone that was doing their best job at doing something.
Yeah.
People make mistakes. And so there are definitely some things I will never talk about. But those little tiny things don't necessarily matter when you're getting the whole picture of everything. I don't need to bring up every single incident for you to understand that I did drugs. It's you kind of got the idea after a couple posts. So.
Got the idea. Yeah, on many different avenues. And to the same token, it's good to let people's minds wander. To be so specific, you might count people out.
Right.
Because one of the ways that people will benefit from it is seeing themselves in your shoes. Mm-hmm. And yeah, if you're too specific,
they're
then someone
not me.
Not me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
And then, yeah, I'd like how you've changed people's names
Oh yeah.
in very cute ways.
Yeah.
I mean, you made them real ways, not like made up crazy names, but like,
Daisy and
yeah, the way you
Marshmallow.
brought it up, your personality just flows through it, and it was cool because whenever you're around like a celebrity, and take this however you want it, but whenever you're around a celebrity, it's like you always know more about them than they know about you.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I've been in those situations, whether it's on the, hosting a podcast with someone who's obviously more famous than me, or in my past life when I was around a lot of that. Like, they're definitely, yeah, I know what you mean.
So, what types of things are you most often teaching people to help them get over the stuff that's in their way?
Dang. I don't know if I'm there yet.
No?
Well, I mean, I feel like, okay, so some of the biggest things some of the feedback that I've gotten, now mind you, this blog's only been up for what, a month or something? It's pretty new.
Well, yeah.
So, the biggest things I've gotten is like, thank you for being honest, like, me too. Like, that's a really big thing. And whether it means the Me Too movement, like, as far as sexual abuse, or if it's just like that happened to me as well. That's the biggest thing too. The thing is, where I'm at with my blog right now, because it's been somewhat chronological, is that I haven't gotten to the recovered Danielle yet.
Did you not share things before your blog? Not much? Is that what you're
Not
getting at?
much.
Not much. So this was
Right.
like your big unveiling.
Well, definitely not publicly. I mean,
Yeah.
if I were to share something,
One-on-one coaching or friend-to-friend stuff.
right,
Is that
right,
getting that?
yeah, for the most part, yeah, maybe even a group session, something.
Okay.
But, yeah, definitely not on a public level. So if you had, in fact, if you guys do enough research, my old MySpace page still exists because I don't know how to log into it. I don't have any idea.
No
what my
one
email
knows how to log
Right.
into MySpace anymore.
But it's
Like,
still
use
on
your
there.
email. Be like, no one
Which
knows how
one?
to use Yahoo anymore.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like, send a code. I'm like, I don't even know what it was, like at MSN or something. I don't even know. So anyway, if
SBC Global.
if you find my old name, you can find it up there. And it's really interesting to me as like an outsider looking in, because this is 10 years removed, right? And like looking back at like just knowing the feeling that I was feeling in certain pictures, or like knowing what that experience was, and then something's totally forgetting about me, like, oh shit, that happened, And so I don't know how that tied into your question, but it's just
Yeah, just flowing. I've really liked that one of your reflection points was the boiling frog metaphor. Like, oh my God, I can't tell you how many times that principle has played out in my mind in different ways, whether for myself or how I've watched others.
yeah.
A lot of my coaching conversations are helping people understand this. And can you explain
That analogy?
maybe if there was a target audience of, because after a certain age it gets really hard to turn people around,
Yeah,
and because they have their minds made up, but if there was like teenagers listening,
Mhm.
if there were like early 20s listening, like what types of things do you think are important for people to keep on their mind to make sure that they're not in a pot that's on the stove with a little
They're the
flame
frog,
going?
yeah.
Yeah.
So just to clarify real quick, if you're not familiar with the boiling frog analogy, basically it's like, if it says if you throw a pot or a frog into a pot of boiling water, he'll jump out quickly. He'll, as if it's a hot flame, and it is. And otherwise, in the other situation, you would put a frog in lukewarm water and turn the water on with a low flame. And over time, whatever time it would take, the water would begin to boil, but the frog wouldn't jump out of the pot because it was such a slow transition in temperature that he would be boiled alive. So that was kind of the analogy that I used for a lot of my life, because it didn't go from like Christian kid to stripper heroin addict. Like there were some steps that had to be taken in between those two. And so what were you saying? How can I apply that?
Yeah, like if there's a young listener listening, these guys are faced with opportunities to do right and to do wrong every day.
Every day.
Every
right.
day, many moments. When you're on social media, the mindset that you have has a slight edge effect. When you're out in public, the way you respond, the way you treat people, the things that you do, all have this minuscule movement in your life. But over time, if you look at something close up, it might look near together. But when you look 10 years away, it's like ages apart. Like what type, if essentially, not only what types of things should people look out for to help protect themselves against that slight edge boiling frog effect, but kind of share some insight that maybe if you were to go back, that like you're like this type of situation, this is what this led to, and if I went the other way,
It's funny because I'm not a mom today, but I feel like as I say this, I'm gonna sound like my mom or a mom. But think about your future, guys. Like it's like if you're gonna go pick up whatever kind of drug you're trying to pick up, and think about like go to honestly do some research. You want to start smoking speed? All right, look up online what speed addicts look like in 10 years. Look at their teeth, look at their face. I mean, I'm being serious because it's most of them either do not survive or they look like shit. And by the way, side note, if you guys see this like super red face going on right now, it's because I've been doing these chemical pills because of the damage that I did to myself from doing a lot of drugs.
And a lot of people don't understand that, like, sorry to cut you off. Please don't forget. It's not that taking it does the bad things always. It's like the harm you do to yourself on it.
And
you could fall and get hurt. You could,
jump off a building.
One of the things they teach in Alcoholics Anonymous or Al-Anon is alcoholism ends up in one of three ways. Either you end up capacitated, you end up killing someone else, or you end up killing yourself. And it's an extreme phrase that helps you understand that, like, you're up against the odds.
Right.
The odds are not in your favor.
Right. And at some point, in the very beginning, parents might feel bad for you. They might try to save you. Your friends might be there for you. Maybe nothing bad has happened yet. Maybe you just got a little high or drunk and, slept with the wrong person and whatever. The next day happens and, it's definitely not the worst thing. But maybe that's not your case. Maybe you got drunk and hit a car and now you're, going to prison for DUI and
vehicular manslaughter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many different forms.
Share that on a first date.
If you're getting out, like, what are you gonna have your jail date, right? Like, I mean, depends on your lawyer, I guess. And fortunately, like, I have to say, I am extremely lucky that I didn't cause any harm outside of abandoning my friends and family and not being there, whatever.
Just emotional harm is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But you didn't cause any, like, crazy physical...
I didn't kill anyone on accident. Yeah. I didn't, not that I know of. Only on purpose. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have anything like that. I don't have any DUIs. And that's the thing, too. A lot of people, when they come into this court system, it's like, you have to have a DUI and you have to have this and this and this in order for people to consider that you have a problem. I'm like, I've never had any repercussions for using or drinking other than getting caught with something on me. Like, it's never been like mid-robbery, oh, she had drugs in her pocket after she was robbing the liquor store. No, I've never done that. And so that's where I think sometimes people put all drug addicts and people who abuse alcohol into one category, and it's like, oh, they're all just a bunch of bums who are stealing from people and sleeping around or whatever. And it's like, well, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, at one point, I'm driving a Mercedes, living in a decent house, everything, I paid for. And I am shooting heroin on my couch because that's where my life had gone. I hadn't lost everything yet. But I wasn't like, hurting people. Like I said, I know I did damage, but I wasn't like robbing people to get those things. Like, I just made a lot of money because I was a stripper. So, I don't know. I think there's a big misunderstanding.
Yeah. So you would say that the boiling in your case came from it started in your early teens. Like,
yeah.
Did you get a lot of pride out of being somewhat of a moneymaker at 14?
Yeah, and so
like, oh, I know how to make my own money, and that like paved your way for like I make my own decisions.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I knew my parents weren't parents. Like I don't mean that in
Got
a
it.
mean
Yeah, yeah.
way.
Yeah,
I just
that's
knew
interesting.
because okay, my parents got divorced when I was 12 or 13. I always forget exactly when it was, but an influential age.
Yeah.
My dad
You
had
remember it.
I do.
Yeah.
And before that, my dad was working up in Northern California, so he wasn't really around much before anyway. And so then when they got the divorce, it was just basically a piece of paper. It wasn't much different than before.
Mhm.
And my mom then had to take on a second job to be able to afford everything. She also started going back to school. So she's working 2 jobs, going to school at the college in Victorville. There was no time for kids, but unfortunately, we were already there, me and my little brother. So I became my brother's mom when I was very unknowledgeable and immature.
Yeah.
And so that put a giant stress on me. And then so my biggest thing was like, okay, I got to get a job right now so I can get out of this situation because I don't ever want to have to be dependent on someone. And so, yeah, it probably started around there. And my first job was in the high school cafeteria. It was only like an hour a day, you know.
Oh, your
just-
first job wasn't McDonald's?
Well, technically, because I didn't have like I wasn't like employed when I was
Sure.
working in the
Sure.
cafeteria.
Okay, got it.
So it was just like it was small school here
Yeah.
under the table. We'll give
Uh-huh.
you, I think it was like $50 plus a free meal every day.
Oh.
Hell of a lot. Or maybe $20, but still, it was a lot.
$50 every
for-
week?
No, I think it was,
Every day?
no, it couldn't have been. It was probably $50 a week.
Okay.
5 days. Yeah, that
I'm
makes
like,
more
yeah,
sense.
it would have been cocky too. $50 a day.
And then, yeah,
12?
my first real job was McDonald's. And I mean, minimum wage, but small town. So we got to work.
Which was like $7 back then, right?
Oh, so what was it? 625, I think.
I just on
I'm
that
old.
2009 video, I there was a conversation. Preface: I'm using a camcorder that is my father's, and there was some flicks on it from 2009 or 2008. And one of them, they were talking to me in our house about getting a job that was like a high-paying job at like $11 an hour or something like that. And
Yeah.
mind you, in some places in the world, some places even in the country, $11 is good. But I think like minimum wage here is like in the teens now, right?
I don't even know. I it's way higher than I think
Yeah.
it should be, but because it ends up putting a damper on other things. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, so after, then I ended up getting the job at McDonald's. I worked at the ski resort, which was not very far from my house. And I basically just taught myself to be extremely self-sufficient from the very beginning because I never wanted to be in my mom's position. So that's kind of how it started pre-adult life.
Are you guys closer now? She's still a fan of you, though? You just don't know how to communicate?
We have communication issues. I
Yeah.
think both of us love each other. I think both of us care about each other. We are not mother and daughter, though. There has never been a respect
Because you had to take
on
over.
that level.
It's-
Yeah. And so I immediately lost respect
Yeah.
for her. Was like, why didn't you stand up? You're the one who made me, literally, physically. Like, I'm here because of you. And so why are you putting me in this position so I have to take on the responsibilities of my
This is what you
brother?
felt, right?
This is what I
Cool.
felt.
Got it.
Not what
Got it.
I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
But it's what I felt.
Didn't get that
then.
sense.
And so I hated my parents, both of them. And then my mom would blame a lot of things on my dad. And so then I'd hate her more because she would never take responsibility. And it was just this like, I'm out of here. And so that's kind of how, I left. I finished high school early and left at 17 because I was just like, I can't do this anymore. If I'm going to be working my ass off trying to support myself, it's not going to be to support me, my mom, and my brother. It's going to be to support me, and you guys can figure it out because I did. So I was, yeah.
I think I've picked a ton of great things out of my parents' divorce, too. And I'm gonna shine the light back on you, but
I don't need it.
I just think that it is so cool that you find as much joy as it seems you do in moving your energy towards bettering others and bettering the world.
Yeah. Thank you. I know it's
Sigh.
kind of a hesitation.
Explain it.
I
What did I say that you
obviously-
kind of didn't agree with?
Oh no, it's not.
Interesting.
It's not that. Well, I guess it'd be a 2-part answer. First part,
Let's hear.
I don't know. I always feel like there was a piece of me that cared about other people, but my actions said differently. So I would.
But you thought you
say-
cared.
I definitely wasn't
Oh
the
my
person
god!
going out.
I
Like, trying to
think
hurt
I
people.
relate with what you're about to say. Go ahead.
Second part.
That was it. I thought you were going to explain that.
No, yeah, no, seriously. I feel like I was the person that, I had friends that ended up doing a lot of drugs and ended up homeless. Here, sleep on my couch. I'll give you clothes. I'll buy you food. I'll give you drugs. I'll get, whatever. I definitely, it fulfilled a piece in me to be able to help other people. Now, you could go back around and say, well, that was selfishly motive, or, I had a selfish motive and I was just self-centered and I needed to feel that, maybe that's the case. I don't really know. It definitely wasn't on purpose if it was, but I was definitely the caretaker all the time. And I think that started because I was taking care of my little brother at such a young age. So I kind of took on
How much younger?
3 years.
3 years.
But
Cool. 3 exactly?
Close.
2.5?
Only a month. No, it's only a
Older.
month different than 3 years. But
My sister's 2.5 years older than I.
I think you told me that last time.
I also said you kind of remind me of her.
Yeah.
She went through a phase with really thin eyebrows. She's got the dark.
I just can't grow them.
she just got hers, I think, tattooed. She
Which
loves
I did,
them.
but I need to get them touched up because.
Oh, she has like no eyebrows. She went through a phase where they were so thin that
now they don't
disappeared.
grow. Yeah. That was like sixth grade.
Thin as can
for me.
be.
Yeah. I got it.
6th grade. So, to get to adjust the convo towards vegan things.
Yeah.
In parallels for this, because I think with your background, you're kind of set up for the activism that you're doing.
Yeah.
Where there's a little bit of rebellion, a little bit of not I know better, but
I've been there.
Yes, exactly. I know the way. You watch a few minutes of Earthlings, knew right away.
You really studied up on me.
And
I am proud of you.
This, I know you were wearing. I'm joking.
I was like, wow, I didn't write that.
You know what? Okay, first off, there was a thought that you had that you shared that I had never thought before that I thought was so good, that you were watching animal cruelty videos, and you're
Pre-vegan. Is that what you're talking about?
pre-vegan, yeah, animal cruelty videos. And you thought that it was funny that Michael Vick could go to jail for what he did with dogs, but there's all this, and to quantify that even more, Michael Vick went to jail for dogs fighting when the U.S. government subsidizes $50+ billion a year for animal agriculture.
Which is basically that shit on steroids.
Yeah, so instead of just dogs, it's like all sorts of animals that, they can't all be docile together, but they're fighting with people. People are fighting with them, prodding them.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd consider it a fight, but yeah.
Yeah, it's more of
Yes.
yeah, it's bad. Oh, there was another I'll bring up later. There was a few thoughts that you guys had shared. I meant you and you guys. Hang on. I don't want to get the name wrong. I'm thinking Derek. Is it Derek?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, cool.
Okay, I figured.
Okay, cool. And so, anyways, we'll get to it. You used to get sick a lot.
Yeah.
With your transition into veganism, which has been 3 years, how long? 4 years?
It'll be 3 in November, right around Thanksgiving.
That's cool. So you let Thanksgiving pass, and then you're like, I'm done.
It wasn't planned that way. It's just kind of what happened. No, I was vegan right before Thanksgiving because my little brother lives out in Colorado, and I had already bought tickets to go see him, and I just decided I'd go vegan, and then told them, by the way, like, it was at his girlfriend at the time's mom's house, and so I was like, yes, I don't eat any animals. And it's like turkey, bacon wrap, jalapeno, like all this shit, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna walk to the store.
You were saying I don't eat animals then too? So you went vegan for animals.
Like, oh yeah.
The first off.
That was the only thing I cared about in the beginning.
And then you led yourself into being more healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is what the majority of vegans do now.
Yeah.
Do you think that's safe to say?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Because I didn't take a poll or anything, but it seems like there's not as many junk food vegans than there are people that actually care a little bit more about their health. I'm not saying that everyone's plant-based or that the majority is plant-based. I'm just saying that a lot of vegans have it in their mind to go the healthy route when available.
I think so. I'd like to think so.
You think so?
I mean, not to say that people aren't going to indulge on some Oreos or
whatever,
but
look in their freezer.
Right.
for ice cream.
Well, I got that.
But we can't call it ice cream. Can we call it ice cream?
Nice cream.
It's nice cream.
It's nice cream.
So I know there was there we can't say meat. We can't say ice cream.
I don't really give a shit what people say.
No, have you? There's legal legal things where
there was one of those
where
companies
you
that tried
can't
to
call
sue
it
us.
beef.
Yeah,
or you
'cause somebody
can't
called
call
it
it fish. Oh, you can't call it milk.
That was the lawsuit.
And I'm
that
like, well,
started
we're
it.
gonna have to come up with weird names if we just add a letter before everything.
Nut milk.
Smilk. What if there was an S before everything?
We might run into some problems, but
Pork, spork,
that's stupid.
beef, speef. Yeah, we would run into some problems. But like, what are we supposed to do? It's like, could you imagine not naming a meat substitute what that meat is substituting?
I mean,
then
you can just change
hoping
a letter, or you know what I mean.
Just the spelling.
Chicken.
It's
with
pronounced
an
the same. That's how it is with trademark law, where it's like
Yeah.
if there's a punctuation difference or if there's a spelling difference, even if it sounds the same. Like if there's
What if I have an accent? I could be saying it totally different. You're just pronouncing it
It's
wrong.
very
It's chicken, not chicken. Like,
it's a silent H.
right? Like,
Kickin' chicken.
kicking chicken. Anyway,
So
yeah, I don't really eat a lot of the faux meats, but not to say I don't, just not often.
are you still into cooking as much as?
Yeah, but like we had said,
Because you got some
like,
crazy background in it. First off,
in cooking, yeah.
how much time did you spend with that chef?
Oh, Angelo? Is that his
Yeah.
name?
Yeah.
Not as much
So
as
he
I
was a
like
top
to, but we're
chef,
still
Iron
friends.
Chef. Was he
yeah.
a top chef on Iron Chef, or how's it work? Is
He
Top
was a
Chef a different thing?
judge
Than Iron
on Top Chef.
Okay.
And then he was
And
also
he
a
was in Iron Chef.
contestant. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. So
No,
Chef
that
Angelo
one's for
Sosa,
sure. I know he
okay.
was a
I
contestant
was like,
in
I'm
Iron
pretty
Chef.
sure I looked it up before.
Yeah.
But he also has his own apron line, which is really awesome. Just a little shout out, AOS by Sosa. He's a really cool guy. He's got a son with some disabilities, which I'm not going to, share his story on here. But Angelo's got a really big heart, and he taught me. I've been in the restaurant industry for a lot of my life, and at one point I was a server, and I was looking to be a little bit more back of the house, so like cook, prep, something like that, because I really enjoy it. However, I was refusing to work with animal products. I was like, I'm not going to learn how to cook a steak. What the hell am I going to use that for? And I'm going to end up losing my job because I'm going to end up talking shit the whole time. So I'm like, I better find a plant-based place. And I'm like, well, I haven't been to culinary school. I don't, I feel like I'm qualified in the way of creation, like creativity, but like I don't really have a piece of paper proving that. I just have an Instagram account. And at the time I was posting a hell of a lot more recipes. And so this place was hiring in Poway, and they said they needed someone to help with small bites and snacks. Like it was like not a full restaurant. I'm like, perfect, because I don't want to develop a whole menu right now. And I thought I was going to be developing. So Angelo Sosa helped start this restaurant. He was a partial investor. He did recipe development and like taught me. So I worked right underneath him. So I mean, I technically can't call yourself a chef if you haven't been to culinary school, but that was kind of the position I was taking on. And so then after he left, I was able, they gave me full freedom to like, here, just create something. I'm like, okay. And so I would just mix a bunch of stuff. But the thing was, like, I wasn't really so used to measuring a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, this sounds good, and just throw everything in a pot.
You eye it.
But now I'm doing it on a large scale. So I went from my little pot at home to like this drum, right?
Yeah, you can't eye that.
I tried, and
shouldn't.
a couple times it worked. But for the most part, yeah. So I ended up really learning how to follow recipes more. And I'm just lazy. Like, I just didn't want to, like, I feel like if you're not baking, like, baking matters. Cooking doesn't matter. As long as you don't put too much salt, you can fix it. Like, just add more of everything else. But yeah, so I went from there, and I was going to school full time, and I was working with Specialty Produce, but not an official hire. I was doing recipes for them, and I basically, I'd come in, do some shopping, and create a recipe with their food, tag it on Instagram, allow them to repost it, whatever. And they would give me a discount to do that. And after about a year of that, while I was working at the little cafe, the owner here offered me a job. And I was like, doing what? And he's like, audio production and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I have no experience in audio at all. I have experience with computers. I was a computer science major when I went to Santa Monica College a while back. I was a math major when I went to school here. But so, I have that kind of analytical mind, but like what? And it's actually much easier now that I know how to do it. But yeah, so I've been here for a little over a year now, officially. But I've been working with the company for like 2.5, 2 maybe. So yeah,
That's
it's
so
like
cool.
the summary of everything put together.
Yeah, and until super recently, I didn't know that you produced all of you said
Super recently.
13, 14?
Well, we had 17 podcasters. We just had a couple that we've phased out. And so I think we're at 14 right now. So
So you do Dine Local, I see?
Yeah.
So there was the guy that runs Craft and Commerce. Did you help with that show?
Yes.
Do you know that conglomerate I'm talking about? Have you seen their lineup?
Very little.
Oh my
No.
god, they have none of them are vegan restaurants, but a lot of famous bars and some of the most popular drop-offs for Uber and Lyft is like at a
Oh.
lot of the places, and they had like 12 restaurants and bars that they've launched in the last like 7 years. I'm like,
think
oh my goodness.
If I looked at the list, I would know a lot of those names.
It was Swine and yeah, Soda and Swine and
Soda and Swine. That's it.
The Neighborhood and Noble
Okay.
Experiment. Which, have you ever been to the Noble Experiment?
No.
Well, you will probably never go because it's a bar. But you know what? I don't know. It's cool because it's like it's in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So you go and you say, "Hey, I want in," and they take you to this wall that is a wall of kegs, and then they reach for one of the ledges and then open up this wall, and it's a fake wall, false wall.
Right. I got
And then
that.
you walk into this speakeasy called the Noble Experiment.
Oh my god.
It's cool. It's cool. You
I'd
could
be down to
probably
check it out.
yeah, you could probably go in and just look because there's a cool wall with gold skulls in there. But
I should know this. So Specialty Produce caters to 80% of San Diego restaurants. So
that's just so wild. That's so wild.
It's crazy, and we still have that small company vibe.
I was even gonna say that this isn't even like a massive place.
No, there's a lot of employees because there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that you don't see. But
yeah, you must be cycling through
24 hours
stuff like crazy.
The entire warehouse full of produce is completely turned over every 3 days.
No way.
Minus a couple of the like more rare things like jackfruit or whatever. But that's such a small section.
Which is not going to be rare for that much longer.
I know. The hardest thing with jackfruit is it doesn't grow like it grows close here. It grows in Mexico, like a little bit further south.
It's just heavy.
They're heavy.
It's heavy as heck.
They are.
Like is I don't know if shipping's expensive for it. How does it work with that?
Yeah, and I mean anytime
you think
you're
they're like
shipping
tedious
food,
to prep? Is that what you're getting at?
Oh god, they are.
Yeah.
I've broken down a few jackfruits before, and I mean you got to have an old knife, you got to have gloves. I mean they are messy, but if you have a day to.
Yeah, no, my dad just had a birthday and right? Oh no, maybe it was for Father's Day. I forget which one it was because they're super close together.
Yeah,
and
same with mine actually.
And his wife made jackfruit a jackfruit dish, and we had like a Mexican
Yes. Like
style. Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, jackfruit makes a great substitution for like carnitas or you can marinate it in barbecue sauce. Spork.
So you reminded me of something I definitely wanted to talk about, which is soberism.
Sobriety.
Sobriety. I actually
there's a
forgot
real
the
word for that. That's okay.
There's a real word for that. Yeah.
Soberism works.
Well, so how long have you been sober?
Nobody's ever actually asked me that straight up on the thing. They've asked me how long ago did I stop doing drugs. So I guess I'll be honest about it. November 6, 2012 was my original sobriety date off of everything. Drugs, alcohol, everything. Earlier.
Do you have any type of celebration on that day? Do you do like a little...
Nah. Well, it's not the current date anymore anyways.
Okay.
Since then, in the last few months, there was a few times where I was like, I think I'll be okay drinking a little bit.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned wine, right?
Yeah,
Did
that
you
was
pull
one
out
of them.
wine?
There was a margarita once. There was, and I think the thing was a lot of my crazy history happened in Los Angeles, and I came down to San Diego to get sober, but I didn't necessarily want to. I just didn't want to go to jail for a while. So, jail told me to go to rehab, blah, 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 blah. Did that, wasn't really planning on getting sober. Knew I had a problem with heroin. Didn't really want to admit there was a problem with alcohol because I was 25. Or 24. I was like, this, everybody drinks like this at my age. It's not different. And so, I got sober kind of against my will. And then I stayed sober for about 4 years off of everything. And then at one point I was like, you know what? Like, I I didn't make this decision on my own. Like I felt like everyone else around me knew I had to get sober, but like I was still kind of having some reservations. So a few times I was like, well, I'll just see if I can drink. And now it's like it's just not worth it for me. Like I'm not drinking right now, and it's just I don't know. I'm 30, well 31 now. And so when I drink, the next day is not like when I was 21. Like the recovery time is a little bit more. Like there's a little bit more of a headache. There's a little bit more sluggishness. I have a real job today that I don't get to sleep in until 5 in the afternoon before I have to get up and start getting ready. So it's funny. I sound like such an old person saying that because I used to laugh at people who would talk like this when I was younger. But I mean, realistically, yeah, it's like would I love to have a good Friday or Saturday night, have a couple drinks, chill with some friends, and not have that sort of craving to go crazy again? Sure. Do I think that's possible? I don't know, In my situation, I don't know if it's a good idea. So, for now,
I feel you.
I'm not making any commitments. But
I of all the bars in San Diego, I haven't heard of one, nor do I know of one that's a dry bar.
A dry bar.
Oh yeah, it's a bar that's alcohol free.
Why would you do that?
Well, for some people, like me, you may be vegan and you don't drink,
but
and
you want to
like
meet people.
you want to meet people, and everyone goes out, and like it's lame being. I guess at a club, like if I ended up going to. First off, I just have zero desire to go out anyways on my own. But like if a friend had a birthday or something and I went
got a reason.
Out, like I'll throw lime in a water. Like
you are hardcore, my friend.
That stuff's cool.
No, I know.
And it looks like a drink. And I used to throw a lot of home mixers for business events and stuff. And like one of the rules was to get a drink in everyone's hand.
Right.
Just any type of drink, because if their hands have something to do, they're less awkward. They have, but I haven't seen any dry bar in San Diego, and I'm like, dude, if there was a vegan dry bar, that would be so cool. Yes.
OC Dry Bar.
OC Drinks. Yeah, OC Dry. No, I did think of OC Dry Bar, which is way better than OC Drinks.
No, I think OC Drinks is kind of cool, but it does mislead though.
Yes, OC Dry Bar. If ever I pick up the OCD brand, which I think I will, I just have to wait longer. I need Elon wouldn't have been able to start Tesla if he didn't have a Billy before.
You got a lot of years to.
I know there's so many years, and you know what? A lot of my early trigger pulling was all from a little bit of a lack of impatience and a lack of knowledge for what's required to do what I wanted.
I've been there. I get it.
And everyone does. And you know what? Like,
thank you for admitting it. A lot of people won't do that.
My family told me, but thank goodness they let me
figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
No, that's
because like there's no better teacher than yourself for your own.
You gotta learn the hard way sometimes.
Lessons.
You know what I mean?
You do. And in my mind I've played out both ways where I'm like, if I would have listened, this is probably how it would have gone. And since I didn't, and this is how it went, not only did I learn my lesson, but I learned the power of how to listen to these people and like maybe what questions should I have had for them to then further my confidence in their suggestion that I start working. Or that I move out, or that I stop drinking, or that I blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what my quote for quote sobriety date was, but I think this year Yeah. I think this year will be 4 years of no drinking.
Wow.
And I used to drink a lot.
Very cool.
Yeah. And it's like, so I meet some people sometimes that have their own issues with drinking, and I think mentally I have a different scenario with it, cuz there are some people that absolutely need AA.
Yeah, and see, okay, I just want to clarify something real quick.
Oh, let's hear it.
The AA stands for Alcoholics Anonymous. So
Oh, am I not allowed to say stuff
no,
about that?
you can't. I'm not saying
Okay.
that. I just mean like I'm not going to share I'm not going to admit or deny whether I've been a part of that program or not.
Oh, am I not supposed to?
You didn't say anything. You just said that AA does blah blah blah, which
I know it
which is common
exists.
knowledge. We can all find that on
okay.
the internet. It's
All
fine.
right,
Doesn't mean
right.
you've ever been, but
Hmm.
no, I know that.
Do you get in trouble if you share that you've been?
No, there's just
Okay.
in the traditions it says that we shouldn't be talking or people shouldn't be talking about things on the level of press, radio, and film, and I think this would be considered that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's okay. It doesn't matter. Like
Thanks.
you can still talk about sobriety.
Okay.
And so yeah, no, I've just believe me, I've been to enough rehabs where I've heard a lot of
Yeah.
things which you're allowed to do or not allowed to do or whatever. But what did we originally? I forgot what we were talking about. I'm a little
Yeah, I was
disclaimer
just
out there.
saying that some people absolutely
Oh.
truly need that
Programs.
source of consistency of sober people and thoughts around you
I
and support.
think once again just speculating. No.
Speculate on.
Things I've heard in rehabs. There's a big difference between someone who is a hard drinker, and then someone who is classified as an alcoholic. And without getting into anything, you guys can definitely look that kind of stuff up. But somebody who just drinks a lot, aka the hard drinker, they can have enough consequences that will put them in a position that require them to change their life. Like, oh, I got arrested. Oh, I got divorced. Oh, I got my kids taken from me. I got in a car accident. Whatever. That's enough for them to be like, you know what? Drinking, is kind of ruining my life. Maybe I should change my life around. And then there's the other people who are bodily and mentally different than everyone else. And the common sense part of thing all goes out the window when it comes to recoiling from a hot flame, or there's a kind of famous story that goes around that talks about this guy who's a jaywalker, and he keeps walking across the street. I don't know the story exactly, but he gets hit by a bus or a car every time, right? And his friends are like telling him like, maybe you should stop doing that, right? And then oh god, I shouldn't have even told this story because now I don't remember the very end of it.
Punchline.
Bada it's gone.
Yeah, just bullet point it.
Yeah, so it's basically just saying, I'm totally drawing a blank. It's funny because I know this story all too well. Anyway, back to what were we talking about?
Yeah, no, I'm not I wish there was a test so you could like find out if you're an alcoholic, because I've been told my whole life that I likely am, because my mom's one, and my dad used to have his way with things, but when my parents had my sister 2.5 years before me, they went into to whatever type of rehab they needed to, and cleaned everything out. And so my grandpa on my mom's side was an alcoholic. My mother is, and because I was what you kind of just phrased was a heavy drinker, it was always thought that, but like I had such it was so easy stopping. Like when I finally decided, hang on, let me say that, because there were for years I was supposed to be done. I was cutting back. Oh man, you know what? I am glad I just said what I said so I could remind myself that, you know what? Once I made the decision to stop, it was easy, but I had a lot of false starts. I had a lot of false starts that said, okay, this will be it. But then the next day on my way home, habit kicked in and I'm like, let me stop by the gas station. And, so there was a lot of false starts where I'm like, this will be the one. But I forget the exact day that it happened and exactly how it happened. I just remember I was so bummed. And thank goodness I was I was just so bummed that like I had played
they're
this game with
making
myself. I
right,
played
right,
this
right,
game with
right.
myself, and I'm like, you're not. Literally, there was no conversation with anyone but me saying like,
Yeah.
you're done, you're not, and like, so I knew I was like not only essentially lying and fooling someone, but that someone was me.
Ooh,
And it
I've
was
done
at the
that.
detriment of, like it put strain on my relationship. There were instances where like I shouldn't have gotten behind the wheel.
Oh
Um,
yeah, me too.
and at the end, when I was a teenager, like there were times that I'm lucky I woke up.
Oh, same.
And I just so there's the silver lining of it where it's like, dude, without those experiences, I would be less efficient in today's mode of trying to help someone go through it because uh, it's more common now for me to find someone that wants to change that has had it easier than I have had it in many scenarios. And whenever you have that, then you don't have the potential for them to be like, no, well, you don't understand me. But since I had to overcome this
Yeah.
adversity and I overpowered myself with all those types of weird addictions, addiction to drinking, addiction to what would I say? There's some
Women?
societal addiction. No, I never had addiction to women.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's all right.
No.
You don't have to clarify things.
No, I'm pretty sure I'm like one of the romantic types that wait, whatever that means. What I mean is like that I've always thought it's kind of weird to have like the juggling arsenal of people at your fingertips. And there was a moment in my life where I almost got to that position because I just started to make a lot of money, blah blah blah. But then right away, I met Alma, and Alma, name drop. It's a fake name. We had a great relationship for like 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, yeah. So no, I never found addiction with women. Just drinking. But there's this. So Russell Brand, you know Russell Brand? You
I
heard
know
of
the
him?
name,
The super
yeah.
eccentric guy. Have you ever watched Get Him to the Greek?
No.
Arthur, not the cartoon.
I was like, I remember the PBS or KPBS commercial.
So Russell Brand,
I
he's
know
a
who you're
he's a
talking
famous
about in the
actor.
face,
Forgetting
yeah.
Sarah Marshall. Have you seen
Oh
that?
yeah, I have seen that.
So he's the rock star guy.
Yeah.
He's that guy, the long, kind of skinny, very articulate, accentuate, and fascinating specimen. I don't know. I was trying to talk like him, kind of. So he's overcome addiction like crazy. What a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking, a lot of women, and is very open about it. And one of the things that he said that I absolutely relate with is the addictive personality, the one where you're putting all this energy into substance, whatever the substance is. It could be women, or it could be sex. It could be drinking. It could be, whatever you're addicted to. Some people are addicted to like biting their fingernails.
Oh yeah.
And
Self-destruction.
self-destruction, correct.
Eating. Yeah.
Once you come to terms with that's not doing you good or doing you the good that you want, you can take that energy. If it's energy that you have, it's flowing through you some way. It's in a lot of aspects, it's creative energy. It's like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Numb stuff. Well, look
Yeah.
at you. What do you?
I mean,
It sounds like
a lot of times
you
it's
don't
a coping
think-
mechanism too.
Oh, yeah.
Like
See,
for me, self-destruction
I can't relate with that.
was control.
or that's why I didn't say it is because that wasn't necessarily
case.
that wasn't my case.
So for me, when I was younger, like I would do things like, and I mean younger, like under 10. I would get really stressed out, and I would go take my mom's tweezers, like face tweezers, from her bathroom, and I would sit down and start like pulling all the hairs out of my leg, like one at a time, because
Smooth as hell, though.
I would get like dip patch like this big done, right? I was 12. No,
On your
I was
knee?
young. Yeah, like I mean, I would do other parts of my
Okay.
leg, but like I would just sit there and just pull them out one by one, and it was like, and obviously sober, but it was just very, it was a little bit painful, but it was something that I could control, and I remember doing that. Eventually, like I had a lot of self-harm things in my older teens, but for me, it was like my household was very violent. It was very chaotic. It was unpredictable. There was a lot of physical violence.
So you did for control.
Yeah. So for me, I felt like I was
that
never
kind
in
of it?
control, and that's what
Yeah.
I think. I
Awesome.
think. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but like I've been to some
So you've heard something, you're
outside
like,
help.
whoa, that could be
It
it.
totally
That
makes
might
sense
be
to
it.
me, yeah. Because
And
it's the only thing I can really manage in my life. So
same stroke, that energy that you put towards your focus on that addiction, once you're done with it, like once I stopped drinking, I became so much more productive.
Well, yeah.
Not just because I was sober more,
yeah.
but because I wasn't spending time at the store. I wasn't spending time at half speed. I wasn't spending time thinking
I was
about
gonna say
the
thinking
next
about
time.
going to the store or the
Like
bar.
just
Yeah.
the mental space, and much like your blog that you're doing, you're creating mental space. You're getting it off your chest. You're getting it out of your head. You're putting it onto something that you can now comfortably move on to the next and not like sit and sulk. I mean, not that you would, but like
Oh, I have.
it's this whole I mean, man, my notes sections that I make on my phone, I'm just amazed. Like every time I'm looking for a note that I think was just yesterday, I'm like scrolling through all these notes that I've made because I'm making notes all day long. I'm getting them out of my head and onto the digital paper,
I like that.
and it's um the addiction thing is absolutely true. If you happen to be addicted to something, and if you're spending time and energy chasing girls, although you just don't care about them, and I'm only saying girls because that's how I
Yeah, men or women.
do as you please. It's just that's the thing that I say because that's the thing that I do. If I did it, and and if you spend your time drinking or partying, like I spend 40 hours a week driving Uber and Lyft, and I do it at nights, and I mainly do it on the weekends. I do 3 to 3, Friday through Sunday.
So you get to see the fun side.
And so I see that demographic of people, and I hear them. They're broke. They're complaining about debt. They're complaining about X, Y, and Z. They're complaining about work. They're complaining about blah. And then they're going out and spending a bill, 2 bills, 5 bills every weekend.
Right, and then, once you have a couple drinks, then you're paying for the rest of the bar's tab, and yeah.
He can do that, but like, I mean, I make my living on Uber, and these guys are like spending $30, $40 to go out, and then $30 to $80 to go back. I mean, some people live close, but man, I'm telling you,
Well, and then
like,
the amount of money spent on drinks, and God forbid a DUI if they didn't take you, but...
yeah. And so, okay, cool. So, oh, you know what? One of the things that I wanted to mention was, have you ever counted how many times you dodged death?
Ooh. I started
Because
thinking
that
about
bullet story
that.
was so nuts.
Oh my god.
So nuts. And the way you mentioned that you felt a force, like, oh my god, I couldn't even imagine that
It
intensity.
took me, what seems like eternity, but probably, a minute or so to figure out what had even happened, because it all just happened so fast. But yeah, so just, to fill people in who are listening, a quick Cliff Notes version of the story was I was with a friend. We were going after some other girls that she didn't like. We ended up going down to their house that was a few cities away, left the house, and a really like a strong thud. I felt something on the back of my head as we're driving in the truck away. I was in the passenger seat and heard a loud noise, and like it took me a few minutes or I don't know, seconds to react, but what it ended up being was a bullet, and it had been stopped. One of the girls shot at us as we were driving away, but one of the her truck, my friend's truck, was older. I was like trying to think of her name. I'm like, wait, I changed it in the story. But this person's truck was older. It was like an 80s truck, and it had the metal plates in the seat cushion and the headrests. And so when we finally pulled over after we had driven out of the town 10, 15 miles away, we looked at the truck, and like, of course, the back window was completely gone, but there was a bullet stuck in where my headrest was. And I was like, holy shit, if she didn't have those metal plates, I would have been dead. Like, it was straight shot to the head. But and I'm sure that wasn't the girl's aim. I think it was just on accident. I doubt she had that good at aim. But there were a few other scenarios. I had a really bad motorcycle accident. I've had a few drug overdoses. I've few really close car accidents, and it's crazy because, like, of course the ODs were my fault, but like the car accidents and the motorcycle accident, none of those were my fault. I'm actually a very, very defensive driver. I've been behind the wheel since I was a kid because I grew up in a small town, And then I worked in an auto body shop at one point, and so I used to get to drive cars on the racetrack, and like I'm like
You like cars.
I love cars,
Yeah.
and I'm definitely outside of the world a little bit more now. I used to be able to tell you like anything, like engine size about like any kind of car. I mean, things are so different now, and I miss it a little. Like I was such a tomboy, but I could tell you.
I think it's
like,
so funny that you changed your Mercedes number. That was such a funny
I
thing.
forgot I
And
noted
good job too,
Yeah.
because it
It
looked
was a
fun.
long time ago. It was so funny. Yeah, I had a little Benz that funny story. It was an SLK 230 and supercharged, and I like the 320 was a 6-cylinder. It wasn't supercharged, but it was a 6-cylinder, so it was a couple $1,000s more expensive, I believe. And I had an old like modeling sort of picture of me on the back of the Benz, and you can see the 230. And I was educated in Photoshop, and I switched the 3 and the 2 so that it would look like the more expensive car. And it just blows my mind looking at it now, because I'm like, I did everything I could to try to fit in or be cooler.
To be better.
You know,
Yeah.
It was like, no, being 19 years old, driving a Mercedes that you paid for isn't good enough. No, you got to have the better model. And
Not a good enough model.
right,
Yeah.
like what the hell would it like?
Mhm.
I guess I needed a Ferrari. No, I still wouldn't have been happy.
Yeah.
It was crazy, and I'll catch myself doing that sometimes now. Not nearly as bad, but man, the people that I hung out with were multimillionaires, you know. So it was like that little car that I had was nothing.
The lizard brain. Part of this is have you heard this before?
No.
The lizard brain. So maybe it was coined by Seth Godin. I definitely don't think so. He talks. No, it wasn't. Seth Godin talks about the person that coined it. It's like one of the oldest parts of our brain. It's kind of like what the rest of the brain grew
Mhm.
around, and like what is more of the common knowledge around it is that we were made to survive, and we were made to be in groups. A human on their own in the wild would just be destroyed really quickly. But a human in a pack, a human in a tribe. If you have a tribe, you can survive. And so much of our programming that, by the way, it's hard to control / you can't control a lot of it. You just deal with it and you adjust.
If you even know.
If you even know, wake up. Now, I guarantee you, much like the story that Danielle just shared, she wouldn't be photoshopping to fluff up what she's got going on now. She'll feel empowered by what truly is and find good angles to jive within it. Like, I think that's cool. And that's a good point, too, because I know a lot of the things that I used to fluff up or make sound or look better, or that I tried to do that was really just trying to impress society's expectations of what good.
Expectations are, yeah.
And then you're wrong anyways, because perfection is subjective. It's an opinion.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like, and
you know, I gotta tell you kind of a funny little story there, because I'm definitely not perfect with this now. It's gotten better, but funny story. So I had a woman on this podcast a while ago. It was when I first started. It was like in the teen number podcast, right? And she is successful. She's a little older than me. And I was driving down here on the weekend to record the podcast because she was coming from Orange County. And so little side note, I have a Honda that I drive to work every day. And then I have an older Lexus that okay, it's a Lexus, but it's older. I mean, it's nothing special. It's just the engine's a little bit bigger, and so
and it's a Lexus.
Well, I mean, this is part of the story. But the engine's a little bigger, so the gas mileage is worse. So I don't drive that one around here at all. And so I had to drive the Honda that day to meet her, because I was going to drive the Lexus just to impress her, just because it's a little bit
caught
nicer
yourself?
than the Honda. No,
You did it.
No, this was the worst part. So the problem is the Lexus had to be put in the shop that morning because there was I don't know, something happened. And so I had to take the Honda, and I'm like, God damn it, this woman, she's a doctor, she lives in Orange County, she has this mansion, she's the beautiful lady, like, oh my God, she's gonna end up thinking I'm a piece of shit because I drive a Honda, right? And so I'm so self-conscious about this because, yeah, I knew she was going to see the car, that I text her on my drive down. It's my first time meeting her. And I say, I'm so sorry, I'm just driving my Honda. The Lexus is in the shop. Didn't tell her what year it was. Mind you, my Lexus is a little older. I mean, not like old. It's in the 2000s, but it's not brand new. I mean, it's like 10 years old. And so And the Honda's actually pretty new. And so and she writes back, she goes, "No worries, ha ha ha. I just drive a Ford Fusion." And I'm like, fuck, idiot. Like, this woman is a specialty doctor, right? Like, she makes money. And so I'm thinking, like, I gotta impress this woman. And I felt like such an idiot. And I was like, this was last year, this was not very long ago. And so
Wow.
I'm not saying that never happens.
Yeah.
A lot less, and that specific time taught me a lesson. And
that one makes it more ingrained.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, proofread next time, bro. What am I really doing this for?
And I talked to her about it after, because now we're friends, you
Yeah.
know, and I, like, at one point I told her what happened, and I was like, I'm such an idiot. Like, I can't believe I did this. And she started laughing. She was like, I'm so simple. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't flaunt my money like that. But, and her ethnicity, her nationality is known to be very flashy and rich. And so her brother is a millionaire, like, whatever, everybody's got a shit ton of money. And so I felt very insignificant. And I realized for a second, I'm like, I am basing my worth on money again. This is what I did when I was a stripper. It was never good enough. I don't care. I was making $20,000 a month, whatever. It didn't matter. Like, that Mercedes wasn't the SLR McLaren, it was a SLK, and it's like, that Gucci bag was 2 seasons ago, all that kind of shit. And that became my main focus, was to do everything I could to try to be not only fit in, but feel better than my peers. And the problem was, when all of that, I don't want to say taken away, I pretty much gave it away when I started doing drugs. When I lost everything and everything was stripped from me, I had nothing. My personality was all put into those things, because that's what I based my life on. So when those things were gone, I was stripped of everything.
My God. Have you ever heard of Wayne Dyer?
Yeah.
So he says, if you grow up believing that you are what you do, whenever you don't do, you aren't. And if you grow up believing that the things you have and the things that you have and collect are what you are, when you don't have them, you aren't. And
Perfectly said.
Oh my gosh.
That's exactly what happened to me.
And man, that was cool to hear. Yeah. So if it's not about what you have and it's not about what you do, what do you look at now?
Ooh, I'm not saying I don't look at those things.
Yeah. Like, what do you try and focus on most?
It's been hard, and I'm definitely not anywhere near it where I want to be, but I'm in the right direction. I want to be able to be okay with Danielle. The Danielle that's on the inside, that doesn't have anything, that doesn't, whatever, just me as a person. The problem with that is, that person is so far removed from all my life experiences that it's so hard for me. Like, I often stop myself being like, who am I? I can't find myself, blah, blah. And I remember somebody at one point telling me, it's not about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. And I thought,
did you like that?
My options are very open.
Yeah.
I
Sculpt
can
away.
create whatever I want, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that was part of, you were a huge influence on me writing the blog.
Oh.
When we had talked the last time, and there's just been, like, a lot of little, I had thought about it here and there, and I'm like, you know what, like, once it's out there, it's out, though. So, like, if I ever have, like, this certain opportunity that's, would require security clearance, I'm not going to get approved. But you know what?
I mean, times are changing. Who really knows what that?
Who the hell cares? Maybe it's not meant to be, because the fact of the matter is,
everyone's going to know everything in a few years.
Well, and even
however many, but it's coming.
But I mean, even if they don't, like, am I willing to lie about a situation in order to get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, that's not necessarily
no,
a good
but
thing
you could
either.
you can use that to your advantage.
And that's how I feel too.
Yeah.
That, you know what, the whole point, like I said in the very beginning of this interview, is like, I want to be able to be in a position to, to be able to be helpful for someone, whether that means personally talking to them or, them just feeling like they're not alone in a situation. At this point in my life, I don't know if I can necessarily offer anyone advice. Like, I can definitely give my experience and things that I would or wouldn't do differently. But I'm no therapist. I'm not a counselor. I'm not, a doctor, whatever. But I got my experience.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of those. So.
I relate with you so hard on it, though. No, like so hard, because that's so much of how it is being vegan, where you're just trying to share your experience. Be like, no, man, like, Literally, her dad had diabetes. Now he doesn't. He took out meat and cheese.
Ta-da!
Literally, she had thyroid issues. She was going to get lifelong medications. She was fainting. She had migraines. Took out meat and cheese.
Now
all
she's
gone in
fine.
5 weeks. You know, like it's just unreal. Like I had a hiatal hernia and gastritis issues. Doctor said I was going to have heartburn forever with every big meal. I went on a cleanse, stopped eating a certain thing, and have yet to get heartburn. Where's it at, Doc? And
unfortunately, the doctors don't always
no,
know.
I know this, and I had a really large doctor then too. So like, what's he gonna say? Be like, stop eating what I love and can't wait to go to lunch and eat right now. No, but they don't know. They don't know.
They don't.
Well,
they're not given
they
nutrition
likely don't know.
training. They're only given 1 hour of nutrition training in order to get their doctorate. No, I'm serious.
I
I've
know.
had a few
We
doctors
laughed
on the
about this
show.
last time. I'm like, 1 hour?
Yeah.
What if they're late?
Oh yeah, that's right. You did say that.
So to finish the explanation of the lizard brain, because I didn't explain it.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, that's totally fine. And I until recently didn't even know what we were talking about. Before then, it was the lizard brain. It is designed to have us survive. And one of the basic instincts for survival is acceptance. And so if you roll that out, like, why is acceptance so big? Well, if you're not accepted into a tribe, you die. You die.
You're
so
dead.
and so for you, it was like, look, if I'm not accepted, I'm not going to be accepted or as accepted unless my car's the best. I'm not going to be as accepted or as accepted. And for some people with veganism, like, there's a lot of people that aren't vegan because of the lizard brain, where they are like, I don't have enough friends that they won't understand. I'll lose friends. If I lose friends, maybe I'll be upset. If I'm upset, then I won't be able to have a job anymore. If I don't have a job, I won't have money, and then I won't be able to get food, and then I die.
Right.
So the lizard brain literally says in all these different scenarios, whenever you're facing adversity, public speaking, boy, what if all these guys go against me and don't like what I have to say? Then I'm going to be out and I'm going to be jousted.
And it's part of a mating thing too, that like we, like on a very caveman Neanderthal kind of level, that's like we are, like our sole purpose is to reproduce, right? Like obviously I wouldn't say sole purpose. Our number one
People should like
purpose.
veganism a little bit more then, because physical attributes matter. Heyo. All right, continue. You want the best jeans, don't you?
like these ones? No, I'm just kidding.
Like these jeans.
Different kind of jeans.
These have never let me down. No,
Yeah.
like, for real though.
Yeah. I forgot.
Yeah.
Shit. You can't do this to me. I have like really bad ADD. So when I'm on a certain like track and then I get distracted, then I forget. What were we talking about? Caveman, Neanderthals,
So what did you
brains,
mention? Yeah,
that-
I just mentioned that the lizard brain. Oh, you said mating.
Mating, right.
Yeah, you said
so
mating.
one of our main purposes, or first purposes, aside from eating, is mating. And I feel like that kind of goes into your whole thing about not wanting to stand out or feel different. Because if I'm trying to be attractive to the other mate, but I am one of the minorities, and not only a minority, but a minority that a lot of people look down upon, like not a good minority.
Or that you thought people looked down
Right.
on.
Even if it's just a self-perception,
Yeah.
that doesn't give me an equal fighting chance against the rest of the women in San Diego, or whatever.
Yeah. The world.
The world.
The world.
The world.
So your husband, in the transition to vegan, he was, would you say skeptical? Not skeptical. He
vegan?
just wasn't
To
like
being
pumped on
vegan?
it at the very beginning.
Yeah,
doing
he was
origin.
a little skeptical.
And so he did some hardcore research and like found all these supporting documents.
Yeah, he's a very like.
So I liked what he said about that because he's pretty physically active, right?
Yeah.
He said he's had some of his biggest lifts as a vegan.
You're so funny because that podcast we recorded was like over a year ago. But yeah, he noticed a really big change physically.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, he's, you met him. He's not like a huge dude, but he's pretty strong.
Well, people just get so freaked out by the thought of like, if I change my diet, then my life's gonna be different.
All my muscles.
Where's the protein coming from? And
yeah, don't get me started.
and you know what? I think it's coming more of a meme now. Like I think that when I started driving Uber 3.5 years ago, people would ask me about driving Uber a lot more. than they do now. And I think that one of the reasons is because they've had the conversations. Over the last few years, it's so many people are like, they're using Uber all the time. They've already asked every single freaking driver,
So how do you
what's the
get
craziest
paid?
stories? Blah, blah, blah. So like, and so I'm not having those conversations anymore as much. And it's like a night and day difference. It used to be 90% of every ride would ask me
This is the craziest
the
story.
same questions.
Oh,
And
it's
so I have great
funny.
answers for everything too, by the way. And now now it's so different. It's so different. If we even talk, it's about normal stuff. And so I think that his skepticism at the beginning was good, but is also very normal for dudes.
Sure.
And I didn't get like the macho man vibe from him, but just like a traditional dude, meaning like he wants to be strong, and he was raised standardly,
Right.
with like
Standard
standard
American
diet
diet.
in mind. But he made a great point with one of the biggest objections that comes, which is, sorry, not one of the biggest objections, one of the funny, interesting angles that meters will try and have is like, plants feel feelings too, bro. You guys had a great response where it was like, well, the animals that you're eating actually eat more plants
Than you could consume.
than I
Right.
will.
So if you look at this like a cow, right? Like, how many plants does a cow have to consume from infancy to slaughter?
It was so funny
It's
when I
so
heard that.
frustrating to me when I
And
hear
I
that shit.
cannot wait to.
But you're killing
That's not
more
my
plants.
answer.
And you know what? Not only that, but I don't think we said it in that podcast, but you're wiping out all these grasslands in order to have the cows. So you're killing more plants.
Killing more plants, and then you got dead zones.
Right,
And no, that was such a good point. And for those of you listening,
That shit pisses me off.
one of the dumbest things that people say, because they forget that plants don't have nervous systems, or eyes, is that, or brains, right? And is that people will say, if you care about other sentient beings' feelings so much, why are you eating plants? It's like, first off, we got to live, so we got to eat something. And when you look at the succession of like what to pick from, not only are plants the best option nutritionally, but as far as we know, they don't care as much as animals.
And I mean, it goes back to the same thing. No central nervous system, right? So
Yeah.
they don't
They don't,
feel.
as far as we know,
pain.
they don't feel
Right. And
like that.
okay, maybe they do have something that we don't understand because we're not on their same level and blah, 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 blah. Because I have seen some studies of like, oh, if you talk shit to a plant every single day, it'll shrivel up and die after a while. I don't know if that's true. I've never tried it. But even if that is the case, it still goes back to my same argument with the whole, how many plants does a cow have to eat before you kill that cow? So, and the thing is, there's so many health complications that go along with eating animals that it's just, why? Why would you? I'm good on that.
All right, so we have a recurring segment on the show called Peek and Choose.
Okay. I was not informed about this before, so what is this?
Peek and Choose. So, which, by the way, I wanted it to be something kind of like Pokemon, where it's like Pikachu. Peek and Choose. You think it'll go? Where I go through photos on your Instagram that I've peeked at, and you will choose one of the best ones, or the best one that suits the answer for the question.
Oh my god, this is entertaining.
Sound good?
Sure. They're from my Instagram though, right?
They're from your gram.
Not my old Facebook. I'm like, please don't pull those up.
No, or your MySpace. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
No, I think you can see it from there. Okay. So, all right, first one. If every meal, like for the rest of your life, was the same, if you had to pick one meal to choose from forever, it's the only thing you could ever eat forever, which one of these would you choose? Hang on 1 second. Which, by the way, whenever someone says, if you could only do one thing for the rest of your life, what would you do? It is like one of the harder questions to do. So we have this Kobe beef bowl.
Not real beef.
Not real beef. Kobe beef bowl.
Yeah. Barbecue pizza. I remember making that. Ooh, I made that recently.
Pulled spork. Then we got
Shit. Quinoa.
quinoa wrap. And we got sushi.
Okay.
So these 5. So we just have sushi. We got the wrap. We got the burger. The boiga.
I
We
would
got
go
the
with
pizza.
the wrap.
We got this. So you would go wrap?
Just because I'm thinking
Simplicity?
on a health, and a health level that if I ate any of those other things all day, every day, I would gain some weight. So the wrap is probably the healthiest.
Wrap might be
I mean,
the
the
healthiest.
sushi too, but
Sushi's not bad, but like you're dealing with white rice. You're dealing with not really.
well, it's a lot of work to make too.
Oh, you're looking deep into it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's good. Yeah, wraps are simple.
you
You
just
could
throw
bulk.
it all
You
in
could bulk
there.
order.
Right.
Yeah, but by the way, this was just your photos were so good, and that you didn't even like know how to edit them. That these were just
Those
like
aren't
raw.
edited,
Oh
yeah.
my god!
I mean,
so
they might
good.
be like slightly adjusted in Instagram, but they're not like photo edited.
Okay,
But thank you.
so same but different. If every breakfast
Oh shit! I'm curious what you're gonna pull up. You did so much research. I'm
was
really impressed.
was the same. So
zombie waffles. I remember those.
so
shit.
meaning if any meal during the day you could pick whatever you want, but breakfast had to be the same forever, and you had to pick from the breakfast bowl.
These are funny. You pulled up some old pictures from my
Fruits?
Instagram. That's old.
This fruit. I mean, it would be new fruit when you would eat it. So.
Not
okay.
old.
Yeah, I know.
Rotten fruit. Okay. Thanks.
Oatmeal,
These are bringing back memories, man.
Pop Tarts, Zombie waffles.
Oh shit.
So we got zombie waffles, we got Pop Tarts, we got oatmeal, which is my personal thing right now, and
Yeah.
and then we got fruits and we got the veggie bowl.
I'd say oatmeal too. I actually do eat that pretty much every breakfast.
That's cool.
yeah.
All right, you're stuck with the coconut flakes though.
That's okay. I'll eat them.
All right.
God, those are so old. They're so funny.
Okay. And last one to peek and choose from is if you could go back and experience the entire day of the day that this experience was taken on, which day would you go
Jesus.
back and relive
Woo. Oh shit. Getting the actual tattoo?
getting your tat?
Well, that was painful.
Thanksgiving with these fools.
Those fools. Do you know who they are?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Which we'll go into. We're gonna explain a lot of these actually afterwards. So just pick your favorite one.
Ah, shit. Spartan. I gotta do another one of those.
Spartonians. We got snowboardians. We got crocodilians. So we got a crocodile, which
That
was
was
in
Mexico, right? Yeah. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, God, I didn't even remember for a
Sid,
second.
what was it? It's
Ixtapa, but
Ixtapa.
Zihuatanejo.
Okay.
Snowboarding.
So we got crocodile. Oh, just absolutely
Yeah.
snowboarding. This.
I mean, I loved those other experiences, but oh my God. I mean, I was a competitive snowboarder as a kid.
That's so
and I
cool.
miss
And you
it.
switched from skiing, which I'm a lifelong
Only
skier.
for 1 year.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, I only skied for 1 year. Yeah, I
okay.
did it in 8th grade,
I
and
thought
then
you were like leaving the trip.
nah, like I realized that all the cool kids snowboarded, and once again, I had to be cool. So
I wanted to, but I wanted to drum more than I wanted to be cool.
Ooh, I wish I would have done that.
And so I did not do snowboarding because everyone said you were going to break your wrists. And I'm like,
Ah!
can't do that. I need a drum.
Yeah, I didn't break my wrist, but I did.
I
I did
know,
hurt
I
my
know.
tailbone a few times. So
Man. Okay, so, but we are going to explain some of these. What's the story behind your tat?
haha.
Because it's so gorgeous,
Thank
first off.
you.
And since you've had such a colorful background, I just could imagine that, like, maybe there's some cool story / tie-in to it.
I wish there
the
was
deal?
more than what I mean. What there is a very cool, significant thing. But I wish that I had like, oh, there's 5 of plumerias because I had 5 lives. No, I don't know. None of those mean anything. They just looked pretty. But what did mean something was on the back. I don't know. Are you still looking at the video or are people seeing this?
Either or.
Okay, so I don't know if you can see, but there's a hummingbird.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Nice.
so hummingbird started. That's where the tattoo started.
Okay.
And my grandma, yeah,
fill it in.
the
That's
flowers
cool.
grew,
Man, nice.
my
That was a granny tat?
Well, yeah, she passed
Nice.
away after. So, long story short, I had lost everything and come down to San Diego to try to fix my life up, and she was the person that helped me. My grandma's always been the one there for me, and 1 year after I got sober, she passed away. So I got the flower or the hummingbird in memory of her because she always had a hummingbird feeder. I almost said it. Well, we always say honeybird. When I was a kid, we said honeybirds because.
But now you're vegan, so hummingbird.
No, I just learned how to talk. No, this is when I was really little. I say, look at the honeybirds.
Yeah.
And my grandma had the feeder right outside the breakfast, little nook thing. So I got that for her. So
Nice. All right.
yeah.
Okay, so tell me about Thanksgiving with Mr. Marco Antonio Regil.
Which I had on the show.
Which, by the
also.
way,
he's
how
awesome.
cool.
He's so
How
fun.
awesome.
Marco, I miss you. And Jeanette and Derek and Tim. And who am I missing? Dawn's girlfriend. Why am I Princessa? Sorry, Prin. I totally blinked on your name for a second. So Prin is so Dawn and Prin own Monkai together, which is no longer.
Who's Don and Prin? Is this Don?
No, Dawn's not in the picture. The
Prin is here.
Prin
Got
is
it.
her. So they make amazing vegan desserts and food and all kinds of yummy stuff that this location does.
Yeah, they
not.
closed down.
Yeah.
But you could still find
Insurance
the bakery
reasons.
guy, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, cool.
That's Dawn. So you can
Dawn,
actually order from him still.
That's cool. Yeah, that was a really popular spot.
Yeah.
Good thing.
it was a cool spot.
Anthem's over there now though,
I
because there was
know.
it was just Loving Head on that strip.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Anthem now.
But what can you say about Marco? Because
Marco's great.
I know he's just so great, and he's
He's like super handsome.
what was
and
it,
he's
like
45.
25 years or 32 years? He's like almost my entire life he's been a talk show host or
Yeah,
entertainment.
he's pretty famous in Mexico. When I brought him in here
Super
in the
famous.
studio, dude, all the Mexican guys are like running up to him asking him for autographs. Like,
Oh, he's a celebrity.
yeah, he is.
He's
I
a
didn't realize that
huge
he was
deal.
just my friend.
And
then-
Mexican celebrities to Mexicans or any Latins are just it's a whole nother
Oh
level.
yeah, it was crazy. He's a really cool dude. He had a Well, I shouldn't say that. He lives in San Diego. I'll just say that.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
yeah,
All right.
Spartan.
Spartan War races. All right, we're gonna hold you to it. You're doing it again.
I am.
And then this crocodile.
Crocodile.
I was gonna say crocodilian. I don't know why, but the crocodile.
That was
Was
pretty
that
fun.
scary or what?
Well, it was looking down. Like,
Are
I
you
was
at a
on
zoo?
No, that's like in the
That's
wild.
in the wild.
Yeah, but I was on a bridge and you look down and there's this little swamp. So I mean, they couldn't have got you. It was all rocks, but they were close.
Oh yeah, what I meant by scared is
being that close to the
yeah,
wild.
just did your
It was
adrenaline
interesting.
go?
I was shocked why everyone was looking over the edge, and then I saw and I was like, oh my god, that's
That's
an
why.
alligator
That's
or
why.
crocodile. I don't remember which one it
Mm.
was. I think the skinny mouth is an alligator.
All right. So we are done with this. All right, thanks for playing.
Yeah.
Okay, K-Moss. There's a few more things. In the final stretch, just closing this out, is StatShare, where we gossip about the craziest statistics we know about. First off, doesn't have to be a vegan thing, but
It's probably the stats I know.
yeah, what's a stat that comes to your mind that is one of your favorite stats to talk about right now?
80% of antibiotics are distributed to animal agriculture. I think it's 80. I could be wrong. Don't quote me.
Here in the U.S., of all antibiotics used, it's for animal agriculture.
I believe so. I should
So that's
probably
wild.
double-check it.
What was that? That was was
Forks
that Forks Over Knives? Yeah.
I think so.
I think so too. But yeah, I remember that one too. And they even give the graph where it's, well, I mean, the Pareto principle being used. That's cool.
Yeah, 80% of all antibiotics used in the United States are fed to farm animals. So yeah, that's random fact.
And yeah, oh my gosh. And
And you wonder about antibiotic resistance.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
I have something else to ask you about.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So no, it gets really cool. I actually this one's interesting, and it's even off script, so I don't have it. Is there are people that on Instagram do hashtags poorly.
Yeah.
And so I just want to get your thoughts on some of these lame hashtags.
Jesus.
So we have check out this one. So here's the
Oh,
picture.
hashtag clean eats, huh?
Yeah, have you seen this?
No, but I did
Hashtag
a rant on this.
Clean meat.
Oh, clean meat.
Hashtag clean. Here, let's look at.
What the fuck is clean meat?
Excuse me. I'm
Sorry,
joking. No, I'm joking.
sorry.
I'm joking. So
Oh my god.
so we have hot diggity. The dog days of summer are here. Cali's famous doghouse arrived. Blah blah blah. So I see the hashtag clean meat. Whoops. I see the hashtag all natural.
Antibiotic free, vegetarian fed.
Yeah. And so when you see this, first off, it's unfortunate, and I forget with Jane, I think she had like 25 or 32 thousand followers and stuff, and it's like it's not nothing, and I know what it's like to be in her situation. So, Jean, we're not trying to hate on you, just more so frame for the listener why to know what to know. Like when I see this, I don't all of a sudden go, "Oh, it's clean meat." I know that there's first off no such thing as clean meat unless you want to get super technical. I think the only clean meat that will ever exist in our foreseeable future will be like lab meat.
Right. Which is doable.
Is a whole different ball game. They can grow it likely without cholesterol. They can grow it without as much saturated fat. They can
basically modify whatever the hell they want to make these muscle cells.
Precisely. But at the end of the day, we have no idea what's going to happen with lab-grown mammalian protein going into a human.
It doesn't exist right now.
This is all science fiction that we're talking about. So when we see something like clean meat and all natural, and you see an egg on top of what looks like a hot dog,
ew.
What are you thinking?
It makes me sad because, like you said, she doesn't. I don't think she has a bad intention. I don't think she is. I think she literally thinks what she's eating is clean, which is really funny because they're freaking hot dogs, which is one of the worst things that there is out there. Processed meat, but she's saying antibiotic free. Okay, I don't care about like antibiotic free. That means that they're not directly feeding them antibiotics. But I don't even want to get into this because I'm going to get all heated about it. But
at least say something about it.
It's not clean, like you said. That egg on top of that is a embryo, an unborn or unfertilized. It's not an embryo. It's an unfertilized ovary, egg of an ovary that came out of a chicken's butt, like literally their butt, not their vagina, because their vagina is their butt.
Oh, what's it called?
Cloaca.
It's
called a cloaca. Look it up. It's pretty disgusting.
One hole to rule them all.
One hole for all three. Yeah, no, it just kind of makes me sad. That's the biggest thing. There's nothing clean about that except for maybe the bell peppers and avocados on the top.
Okay.
Sorry,
all right. And then we got, let's see this one.
Oh, no.
So whatever this looks like, it looks like Eggs Benedict on top of things.
Yeah, I can't quite tell, but.
And so we have a few hashtags here. We got my favorite yoga studio, so it's good the yogis are showing this. Healthy brunch, hashtag health coach, hashtag conscious eating, hashtag farm to table. So
first of all, what's not farm to table? Fucking everything grows on the farm and then it ends up on the table. I hate that term. It's not real anymore. It used to be. Unless she's talking about picking it from her own farm, which I doubt. And then, I'm sorry. Wait, Janet Jackson. That's probably where she got it from. She's pescatarian. That's cool, I guess.
So
but
I mainly want to talk about conscious eating.
That's not conscious, lady. I'm sorry, Lindsay.
Because the healthy brunch, I mean, we can just look at the hollandaise sauce
and
be like, yeah. But I'm pretty sure there's poached eggs under there.
Yeah, there is.
And then she hashtagged pescatarian.
Mm-hmm. So I think those are mussels, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was thinking, like clams or something.
Yeah, some sort of sea life.
And we know that those have super low cholesterol. I'm joking.
I know.
Okay,
I know. The hollandaise sauce, like you said, and the eggs are probably the worst thing on there. And it looks like she's got 3 poached eggs on there. I can't quite tell because they're
she worked hard, you know.
Man, I'm sorry, Lindsay, but there is nothing healthy about that.
Sorry, Lindsay.
What's essentialist?
A little less conscious. Okay, now we got this one.
Look at this, Joe Rogan. Ugh!
So...
Ain't nobody's colon processing that.
Is that a Joe Rogan joke?
No, I have met him though. He used to come in the strip club I used to work in.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, Joe Rogan. Threw you under the bus. Spearmint Rhino. What? That's Joe's voice.
Joe Rogan's on the podcast. All right, so I just wanted to get the sizzle on here because the caption says, "I'm no chef, but I can cook some meat." Hashtag healthy AF. Now, when I just look at this picture, I feel so bad. I feel so bad about it because it's grass-fed butter, organic grass-fed butter, and with if I remember correctly, it's a deer that that he shot. Now he's a hunter, and so he does
Right.
get fresh game meat. But this is one of the confusions, the misconceptions that people get, where they think that factory farming makes meat bad. No, it makes it worse.
Right, I was gonna say
It makes it worse, but it starts
totally wrong.
bad.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, not gonna go into a full lesson here, but look at the digestive system of a true herbivore. They have very long intestines like us. Look at a carnivore like a tiger. They're very short. Like, we do not have high enough stomach acid to even break down cooked meat. In the quantities that we eat. Now, I've talked to a couple of vegan doctors before, and they've told me, well, if we were to eat meat in 3 to 4 ounce portions, which that's a medallion, nobody eats that by itself, that it wouldn't necessarily be terrible for us in the way of like actually breaking it down, but then all the other crap you're getting along with it, and when you're filling up on meat, you're lacking in fiber and all the other vitamins because you're not getting them. You're not getting them from the sources of the plants that you should be eating. So, yeah, it's really unfortunate. Even if you take out the animal cruelty side of things, like our bodies can't eat that. That was a lot of meat.
That was a lot of meat.
It was a lot.
He's got a big family.
They're
girls.
Hope so, but
So the stat that I like sharing, I most often share, has to do with space.
like space.
Yeah. And so just to not let you be the only one that did the stat share.
Well, thanks for not leaving
Is
me.
that the average distance between the moon and here, the space in between could fit every single planet in our solar system in between it. So I think that that's like one of the fun things.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I like sharing that one because
But
like
what about the planets we don't know about?
Oh, you mean like Planet 12, Planet X,
I mean, we know
Planet
about those,
NS62? No, I don't know what it's called.
Right?
No, there's that one that's supposed to be, I think I said 12 because this one is suspected to have a mass of 12 times the Earth.
Right.
And instead of being on the plane of all of our system, it's actually going perpendicular to it.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
But it is so far. Like, have you ever seen any
Like
realistic scale diagrams of like our solar system? Pluto was so ridiculously far out that like it was one of the bigger reasons why it's like, no, it's not a planet. Besides
Pluto.
its size was just like, no, it's just like an asteroid out there.
In our orbit.
But this other one is like multiples of how far Pluto was away out there. So no, that we know of. We've got a pretty good grip on what is in our solar system. We scientists. Okay, rapid fire questions. Window, seat, or aisle?
Window. Sorry.
Got it.
Rapid fire.
Hang on. Let me tell you why. All right. So if you could have if you had to have a song on repeat forever, what would it be?
Britney Spears, "Hit Me Baby One More Time," which isn't really the true answer. It's just what came to my mind.
Oh, okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
I want the true answer, but if it changes things,
It does.
it would be audible to others.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Huh.
I could dance around to Britney Spears all day. No, I'm just kidding. No, that was
well, it
like
could be like a joke on others. Like if I have to deal with this, everyone has to.
Right? You know what? Let's just go with that because that's just what's in my head right now. But honestly, it would probably be more something like hard rock or metal or something, just like scare everyone off.
So, wait, I need a song name. One song on repeat forever. What would it be? Not hard rock. That's not a song.
It might be. 3 Days Grace, I Hate Everything About You.
All right.
Little anger builds up inside.
Jeez, forever? My
no,
gosh.
I don't know. That just came quick too. I'm trying to do your rapid fire
Try
thing.
eating that to oatmeal. So if you right?
Fuck you, oatmeal. I hate you.
So if you had to give a TED Talk and you only had 6 months to prepare for it,
Oh Jesus.
but your topic had to be on something, the thing that you were teaching on and talking about had to be about something that has nothing to do with what you do now, what would it be?
What do you mean? Oh, I'm the one who has to decide what the.
Yeah, so like it wouldn't be about veganism.
Ooh,
it wouldn't be about.
Shit.
Yeah.
This can't be a rapid fire question.
No, I mean I'm doing questions quickly.
Oh, I don't.
You
have
can
to
answer. Yeah, answer as you please.
Okay.
Rapid fire questions.
Yeah, not answered. Music effect on the brain.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about it?
Very little. When I was a little kid, I taught myself how to play the piano by taking apart a music box. Like I counted the little spokes on this thing.
What?
Yeah, I was kind of a smart kid and I fucked a lot of it up. But
Wow.
my grandma donated a piano that she used to have in her house, and so I would like count the
Can you
keys
play
and
now?
only what I taught myself as a kid. I
Chopsticks.
no, I like for Elise, and like I have some like decent
Oh,
ones, Christmas
cool.
ones, but
Nice. Just like a
I
simple version of Furley's.
I can do the both hands. But the
Ooh.
funny thing is, so I hadn't played it in like 10 years, and then I don't have a piano now, and I found a piano, someone not found one, but I was at someone's house that had a piano, and let me see if I still remember. I can do the one hand and I can do the other hand, but like not at the same time anymore.
A few more run throughs,
I might be
you'd
able
probably
to,
get it.
yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally random.
I'm never gonna drop piano again. I ended lessons and I lost a lot of it.
Yeah, I lost a lot,
But
too.
now I like playing on it. There's a piano in the house I live at.
Mm.
So if you had the Oh, no, let me go with this one. So, what's the newest adjustment to your routine?
Writing a blog.
Writing a blog. Okay. That's awesome. And what is the newest adjustment to your routine that has helped you optimize life?
Writing a blog. No. I'd say honestly, partially with writing the blog, but just in a more general sense, talking with other, like open-mindedness, and yeah, just having real conversations. That was something I didn't have a whole lot of, you know. Not only being honest on my side, but appreciating other people's honesty. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
If you had the option to put a billboard downtown San Diego,
Mm-hmm.
everyone would see it,
Mm-hmm.
and you could put 1 to 10 words on that billboard, and it could say anything you want. What would you put?
Shit. It's so funny when I hear these like games on the radio with people play, and I'm like, I got the answers, and then when you're put on the spot, it's like shit. Because I want it to be good, but I mean, it would be something about either veganism or I gotta come up with the words though. Okay, you're not alone. I don't know. That's kind of cliche, but I think sometimes when people go through stuff, it's a lot more open now than it was 10 years ago. But a lot of people are afraid to talk about things, and I think if they felt like other people had gone through them, it wouldn't be as big of an impact. So that could apply to you whether you're being vegan or on drugs, or you went through some sex trade thing, or who knows what the situation is. But there's always somebody else that's been through it. So I think
You're not alone.
you're not alone.
That one's so great. And
Not in like a weird alien sense.
for anyone
but, like,
listening, they're like, man, you guys talked about drugs and like, I thought this was a vegan show. Look,
Vegan now.
the point, so Veginners is having interesting conversations with the coolest vegans and plant-based people on the planet. And so, of which someone like Vegan Danielle, as vegan as it gets, right?
Maybe.
Your name starts with vegan.
It's not my real name.
I know.
Sorry.
It's not your real name. It's I think it would be neat to have, much like this will be, is it'll be a channel that you're not only just supporting vegan activities and vegan people, but you're learning from people that have experienced that type of adversity.
Right.
Some people that on the daily, they're trying to do right to literally what we know to be today the most effective way to fight climate change on a personal basis, which is adjusting your diet, taking out animal products. You will eliminate more greenhouse gas and carbon emissions than you could do doing anything else to your life.
Number one greenhouse gas emission.
I mean, like, and you only need to hear that a few times before it, like, you remember it. Like,
Right.
And then it's just up to you to do the decision. Then it gets back to like, your parents telling you it's not a good idea to do that, but like you have to learn on your own way. It's like, dang, all right, well, we'll tell you. But I didn't necessarily want to show that 100% of the content was vegan talk. But I did want to show where 100% of the guests were people that cared for the planet.
Yeah.
And today we talked a lot about addiction, and the mindsets behind it, ways to get out of it, and like why it's worth it. Because Like, life is so good when you figure out what to do with it. And life is
agree.
confusing as hell when you
You
don't know what to do. And so whether it's creating a routine for yourself where you're having oatmeal every day around the same time, throwing the same types of fruits
That's
in it.
helped me a lot, yeah.
Like
a
just
simple routine.
having a routine. How do you brush your teeth at night? What do you do to wind down and stretch in the evening? What do you do at your like having work, having school, having something in your life that is constant, because life is full of all these variables and options and uncertainties and crazy instances. But if you have a routine, in fact, I've heard Jordan B. Peterson talk about this so much, where from what he says, and this is his career and profession, and he's one of the best in the world for it, is he talks about how if you don't have a routine, the data is just absurdly not in your favor. For having a happy life, for having a depressed-free life, for having this. Like, granted, a lot of people think that if they feel bad, that they're depressed. Look, if you have a crappy life, you just have a crappy life. It doesn't mean you're depressed. You're unhappy because your shit sucks.
Yeah, you could have a worse scenario than somebody else, but that somebody else could suffer from depression and you don't, because people handle things differently too.
Yeah.
I mean, depression is a chemical imbalance. It's
yeah,
not just a term.
There's a little bit more to it than like you didn't land the job you wanted and your girlfriend dumped you.
Thank you.
Like, look, no, your life sucks. Get a routine. Start listening to good people.
Eat your veggies.
Eat your greens. And know that this is becoming part of your story, and you can either use that and invest it into your future, or use that and have it hold you back forever. And the choice is yours, but the event happened. And I think a lot of the things that we could pull from you, Danielle, is like all of this stuff happened to you. Whether you were conscious of it at the time, whether you like it and it's, you think about it every night before you go to sleep, because there's some stuff that like with my stuff that happened with my brother last year, like how that unfolded. There are things that I just realized literally last night. I'm like, damn, I've thought about this exact moment every night. I think every night for 6 or 7 months now. And I'm like, and that's just how it is. And I think, before getting tears in my eyes, I go, nope, I've decided this is what I've made of it. This is what it means to me. And you get to make the meaning for anything you want. Tony Robbins says that nothing in life has any meaning except for the meaning that you give it. And meaning can change as time does.
Yeah. And as you mature
And so just be conscious of it, because the slight edge is real. A salad today doesn't give you a six-pack tomorrow, much like a burger tonight doesn't give you a heart attack.
Right.
And if it did, man, would everyone be vegan? But since it doesn't, just know that the constant recurrence of healthy meals, the good flow of positive info into your mind might not do well tonight. You might not even use the lesson tomorrow. But give it a year, give it 5 years, and you're a drastically, noticeably different person than you were when you started. And that's the stuff that should be more focused on than the lameness of the moment or the sadness of the experience. Just know that it's a part of the bigger picture, and it's all perfect.
Boom.
So I got nothing else. Danielle, anything for you?
Nah.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much for doing this. Christening the Veginners. Something. What is it called? Universe.
Right.
I was trying to think of whatever. And I look forward to watching and being hand in hand / side by side with you as we can continue veganing it up.
Yeah.
Let's go. Anyways, thanks for being on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay.
See you guys
Everyone,
next time.
later on. Bye.